Tom Bower put it plainly. She wasn't iced out. She was never on the list. Piers Morgan said it just as bluntly. It's not an absence if you were never invited. And Megyn Kelly added one more line to the pile. Same story. 6th year running. Notice how every May for the last 6 years there's been a fresh round of headlines, fresh anonymous sources, and the exact same final outcome. Doesn't that seem off? Because if you've felt that itch every single spring, you're not the only one watching the same loop replay. Tonight we're going to walk through every Met Gala from the year she became a duchess to right now. Every rumor, every report, every quiet door that didn't open. Stay with us, because the pattern is sharper than you think, and a lot older. Now, there's been a noticeable shift this week in how Meghan Markle's Met Gala absence is being framed. The headlines say iced out, some say snubbed by Anna Wintour personally. But according to multiple reports stretching back 6 years, the records say something much quieter and much more telling. If you've been watching this exact same circus every single May since 2019, you're not imagining the rhythm. You're seeing it. You're noticing what the cable hosts won't say out loud. What started as one story has now turned into something much bigger than this week. The same anonymous sources every spring, the same hopeful headlines, fed to the same magazines on the same monthly schedule, the same anticlimax on the first Monday in May, and the same pattern building underneath the surface, year after year, with nobody on cable willing to call it what it is. The press recycles the storyline. The audience pays the cost. What if everything we've been told about her absence wasn't actually about this year at all? What if it was about every year, going back further than anyone wants to admit? We're going to walk through this piece by piece. The years, the names, the themes, the same outcome each time. Stay with us. The receipts speak for themselves, but according to Tom Bower, the British biographer who's spent decades documenting the royal family, the man who literally wrote the book on Meghan, this isn't a story about one Met Gala at all. This is a story about a fashion industry decision made years ago that has never moved an inch since. 6 identical Mays, same outcome every single time. Bower has been talking again this past month, and not just on cable. He's been on radio, on podcasts, in print, and what he said about her standing at the top of the fashion world deserves attention from anyone who's been watching the cycle this long. According to Bower, Anna Wintour made her call back in 2019, and she has never reversed it. Not once, not in 6 years, not even when the Sussex stock was at its absolute peak. If that's accurate, what does 6 years of consistent decisions tell us about the gap between the headlines and the reality? Because the headlines have always promised one outcome, the reality has always delivered another, every single year. Now here's where it gets layered, because Bower isn't the only voice in this lane. Angela Levin, the royal commentator who's spent decades on the royal beat and who tracks the soft power side of the monarchy as carefully as anyone in print, has reportedly noted something the celebrity press keeps missing every single year. Anna Wintour holds an honorary dame title from the British royal family. Levin reportedly pointed this out as more than a ceremonial detail. It's structural. It means the woman who decides who walks the carpet at fashion's biggest night sits inside the same network of honors that the working royals sit inside. She isn't just choosing fashion, she's choosing sides. And she made that choice years ago. It's not just one voice saying this anymore. It's stacking up. It's becoming the consensus among the people who've covered this beat the longest and who have the receipts to back it up. The biographers know. The royal correspondents know. The fashion industry knows. The only people pretending it's still up for grabs are the magazines that profit from the speculation cycle. And here's the moment that should have set the tone. Back in May 2019, just months after the royal wedding, the theme was camp. Notes on fashion. The biggest names in fashion were on the carpet. Vogue was at its peak influence. Anna Wintour was personally curating the guest list, table by table. The new Duchess of Sussex would have been the headline. The story, the cover. She wasn't there. The most photographed woman of 2019, fresh off a global wedding watched by 2 billion people, with a baby on the way, that would be the most anticipated royal birth in a generation, would have been the dream Met Gala guest of the decade. Instead, the call was reportedly made quietly and early, not a public snub, not a denied invitation, just structural, not on the radar, not on the list. According to Bauer, that decision has held ever since. Why would the most photographed woman of 2019 not even register on the Met Gala list in fashion's biggest year, with fashion's biggest name running the door? And that's where the pattern starts. Now, look at what happens after 2019, because what happened that year wasn't a one-off event, it wasn't a scheduling problem. It wasn't a pregnancy issue, even though that gets used as the excuse. The pregnancy explanation only covers 1 year out of 6. Every single May since 2019, the exact same machinery has clicked back to life on the same calendar schedule. It's been said that the same anonymous sources whisper to the same magazines somewhere around mid-April that this is the year, that this is finally the moment, that contacts are being worked, that an invitation might be coming, and every single year, the first Monday in May arrives, the photographers line up at the bottom of those famous steps, the names get called one by one, and her name simply doesn't. Is that coincidence? Or is that a system? Because coincidence doesn't run on a calendar. Coincidence doesn't repeat itself with the precision of a Swiss watch. 6 identical cycles in a row stops being chance and starts being something else entirely. A decision, a door that doesn't open, a door that has reportedly never been opened. Not for her, not at any point, not even when she had every other door in the world flung wide. And before we go further, a fair note. These are claims, not confirmed facts. We're laying out what's been reported and what's a matter of public record. The dots are public. You decide what they mean. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Because the next 6 years tell a story the headlines refuse to. Now look at what came right after 2019. Because the year that followed brought a global pandemic, the Met Gala was canceled in 2020, and the entire fashion calendar reset. Then 2021 arrived. The first post-pandemic gala. The theme was America. A lexicon of fashion. Reports suggest this should have been the year. Piers Morgan was talking about it on his show in the weeks leading up to that gala. According to him, the American homecoming narrative was custom-built for that theme. A British duchess turned California resident, fresh off the Oprah interview, with a global audience following her every step, the most talked-about American expat in the world that spring. The setup was almost too perfect to ignore. The night came. The carpet rolled out. 200 famous names walked it. She wasn't one of them. How do you debut at an event you've never actually been invited to attend? Because that's the question reportedly buried under every cycle. The press kept saying she was expected to make her debut. But you can only debut somewhere you've been welcomed, and every reading of the public record suggests she hadn't been. That's pattern point 2, and that's not the only time this happened. 2022 came around with the gilded glamour theme, a theme reportedly built around old money, new money, and the iconography of American wealth. Perfect material for a former television actress turned royal turned Hollywood resident. The same anonymous whispers leaked to the same outlets. The same outcome. Then 2023, the year Karl Lagerfeld was honored, and the rumor cycle kicked off again. According to multiple reports that spring, Meghan was courting a senior Vogue editor in New York. Some reports identified the editor as Chloe Malle, the rising figure at Vogue who was being floated as a long-term successor to Anna Wintour. Photographs reportedly placed Meghan in New York in the weeks around her Harper's Bazaar cover shoot. The cover that came with its own quiet humiliation, the one where she was reportedly announced to an empty room at her own book launch. Same outcome. No invitation, no carpet appearance, no backstage photo. Nothing. And here's where it starts to feel deliberate. To be fair, plenty of high-profile women never attend the Met Gala. To be fair, plenty of Hollywood names skip it for scheduling reasons. To be fair, the Sussex camp could plausibly argue that any one of these years had a reasonable explanation. Pregnancy, promotional conflicts, children's events, travel. The list is long, and on its own, any one of those would land. But for someone whose entire post-royal brand has been built on visibility, on Hollywood proximity, on being seen with the right names at the right rooms, 6 years of consistent absence from fashion's biggest night is starting to look deliberate. Not unlucky. Patterned. 2024 brought the Sleeping Beauty's theme. Same anonymous sources. Same hopeful coverage. Same anticlimactic Monday night. By that point, even royal commentators with no particular axe to grind were starting to ask the obvious question. How many times does the cycle have to repeat before we admit the cycle itself is the story? Now, listen to what Dolan said on his show just last week. He was clear about it. He has never seen a fashion industry freeze last this long against a single name with this much surface-level appeal. Dolan made the point bluntly. 6 years of identical outcomes, different themes, different co-chairs, different headline guests, one absent name, every single time. This is one interpretation, not a confirmed outcome. Anna Wintour has never publicly addressed why Meghan has not appeared on a Met Gala carpet, and the Sussex camp has never publicly responded to the speculation cycle either. What we have is the public record. What we have is 6 years of the same story arriving on the same calendar date with the same closing line. But the public record is what it is, and the public record has been speaking quietly for 6 years now. Now look at what came right after 2019. Because the year that followed brought a global pandemic, the Met Gala was canceled in 2020, and the entire fashion calendar reset for everyone. Then 2021 arrived. The first post-pandemic gala. The theme was America, a lexicon of fashion. The whole event was reorganized around American identity, American designers, American storytelling. Reports suggest this should have been the year. Piers Morgan was talking about it on his show in the weeks leading up to that gala. According to him, the American homecoming narrative was custom-built for that theme. A British duchess turned California resident, fresh off the Oprah Winfrey interview that broke ratings records around the world, with a global audience following her every step, the most talked-about American expat in the world that spring. The setup was almost too perfect to ignore. Even Paula Froelich, the journalist who's been tracking this beat for years, has reportedly said that 2021 was the year insiders genuinely expected the door to crack open. The pieces were too aligned. The theme, the narrative, the post-Oprah moment, the American homecoming. The night came. The carpet rolled out. 200 famous names walked it. She wasn't one of them. How do you debut at an event you've never actually been invited to attend? Because that's the question reportedly buried under every cycle. The press kept saying she was expected to make her debut, but you can only debut somewhere you've been welcomed, and every reading of the public record suggests she hadn't been. That's pattern point 2, built into the calendar. And that's not the only time this happened. 2022 came around with the Gilded Glamour theme, a theme reportedly built around old money, new money, and the iconography of American wealth. Perfect material on paper for a former television actress turned royal turned Hollywood resident. The Sussex squad was at peak online activity. The Spotify deal was still alive. The Netflix project was being teased. The same anonymous whispers leaked to the same outlets in mid-April. The same outcome on the first Monday in May. Then came 2023, the year Karl Lagerfeld was honored, and the rumor cycle kicked off harder than ever. According to multiple reports that spring, Meghan was courting a senior Vogue editor in New York. Some reports identified the editor as Chloe Mal, the rising figure at Vogue who was being floated as a long-term successor to Anna Wintour herself. Photographs reportedly placed Meghan in New York in the weeks around her Harper's Bazaar cover shoot. That cover, the one that came with its own quiet humiliation, the one where she was reportedly announced to an empty room at her own book launch event. Same outcome. No invitation, no carpet appearance, no backstage photo. Nothing, not even a leaked rumor that she'd been considered. And here's where it starts to feel deliberate. To be fair, plenty of high-profile women never attend the Met Gala. To be fair, plenty of Hollywood names skip it for scheduling reasons. To be fair, the Sussex camp could plausibly argue that any one of these years had a reasonable explanation. Pregnancy in 2019, pandemic in 2020, postnatal recovery, promotional conflicts, children's events, travel between Montecito and London. The list is long. And on its own, any one of those would land. Any one of those would close the conversation. But for someone whose entire post-royal brand has been built on visibility, on Hollywood proximity, on being seen with the right names in the right rooms at the right cultural moments, 6 years of consistent absence from fashion's biggest night is starting to look deliberate. Not unlucky, patterned. 2024 brought the Sleeping Beauties theme. The same anonymous sources, the same hopeful coverage in the spring magazines, the same anticlimactic Monday night arrival. By that point, even royal commentators, with no particular axe to grind, were starting to ask the obvious question out loud. How many times does the cycle have to repeat before we admit the cycle itself is the story? Now, listen to what Mark Dolan said on his show just last week. He was clear about it. He has never seen a fashion industry freeze last this long against a single name with this much surface-level appeal. Mark Dolan made the point bluntly on air. 6 years of identical outcomes, different themes every year, different co-chairs every year, different headline guests every year. One absent name, every single time, the same closing line. This is one interpretation, not a confirmed outcome. Anna Wintour has never publicly addressed why Meghan has not appeared on a Met Gala carpet in any of these 6 years, and the Sussex camp has never publicly responded to the speculation cycle either. What we have is the public record. What we have is 6 identical Mays in a row, arriving on the same calendar date with the same closing line. But the public record is what it is. And the public record has been speaking quietly for 6 years now. Now think about 2025, the superfine theme, the celebration of black dandyism in fashion. The same week Meghan was reportedly promoting her Netflix series. The same week as Ever was launching products and getting press push from her PR team. The same week, reportedly, her camp was working overtime to manufacture cultural relevance moments around her name. And fashion's biggest night happened anyway. Without her, again, many people online have started asking the same question, out loud, in comment sections under every major royal channel. If she was lobbying that hard, working those PR contacts, leveraging every Netflix moment, why no result? Why not even a side event invitation? Why not even a backstage photo with one of the carpet guests? The cycle ran on schedule. The hopeful leaks landed in the right magazines on the right week. The first Monday in May arrived. She wasn't on the carpet. The pattern held. And then we get to this week, 2026. Beyoncé co-chairing the Met Gala. Venus Williams co-chairing alongside her. The combination, Paula Frolic reportedly said, weeks ahead of the night, gave her the strongest shot in years on paper. 2 American women at the top of their fields running fashion's biggest night, both with previous social proximity to her name. On paper, the most hospitable conditions she had ever faced for an invitation. Even Tom Bauer has reportedly noted in recent interviews that this should have been the year, if there was ever going to be a year at all. The night arrived, the carpet rolled out, 200 names walked it. Beyoncé walked it, Venus walked it, Serena walked it, the Marchioness of Bath walked it as Serena's +1. Eileen Gu, reportedly one of Harry's California ski friends, walked it too. The carpet was full, she wasn't there. If this wasn't her year, with these names in charge, when would the door ever open? When does the cycle finally close? To be fair, the relationship with Beyoncé was reportedly strained for years before this week. The text Meghan read out on the Netflix series Harry and Meghan was reportedly used without permission, and the Beyoncé camp reportedly never publicly confirmed the message in the first place. To be fair, Venus Williams is closer to her sister Serena than she has ever been to Meghan. And Serena's body language toward Meghan has reportedly shifted noticeably this past year, particularly around the Sophie Chanduka polo situation. To be fair, Anna Wintour holds an honorary dame title from the British royal family. That title structurally aligns her with the monarchy. To be fair, Lauren Sanchez has reportedly carried significant influence at the Met this year, and Meghan was reportedly dismissive of her when Sanchez first moved into the California celebrity orbit. Each one of these has a reasonable individual explanation, but 6 reasonable explanations stacked end to end stop being explanations. They become a pattern. They become a structural map, According to Tom Bauer, the fashion industry has made the same call 6 times in a row, under completely different leadership, with different themes, different headline names, different co-chairs. That's not coincidence. That's not bad luck. That's a consensus. Quiet, but visible to anyone willing to actually count. How does 6 different rooms reach the same closing line? Each one of these on its own, maybe nothing. Together? That's a different story. That's a story the headlines refuse to tell. That's a story the spring magazines profit from not telling. The yearly cycle generates clicks. The truthful summary generates none. So the cycle keeps running, and the public record keeps stacking, year after year, in plain sight. And here's where it gets really interesting. Because while the cable hosts have been asking polite questions about why Anna Wintour might have looked the other way this particular year, the comment sections under those exact same videos have been doing the actual reporting. If you've been on social media at any point this week, you've seen it. The comment sections under every major royal channel, Twitter, Reddit, even mainstream entertainment outlets like People and Daily Mail comment threads. Fans aren't holding back anymore. They're done with the polite framing. They're done with the absence narrative entirely. Comments suggest several distinct waves of reaction have built up over the last 72 hours. Some viewers are pulling up the receipts year by year, posting screenshots of every May headline since 2019, lining them up in chronological order to make the pattern visible to anyone scrolling past. Others noticed the framing of the word absence and called it out directly, pointing out that the word itself smuggles in an assumption that doesn't hold under any actual scrutiny. The most liked comment under one major commentary video this week is sitting at over 560 likes, saying simply that she has never been at the Met Gala, invited or not. So why is this year any different from any other year on the list? And then there's the wave of viewers pointing out something nobody on cable will say out loud. That the media plays this exact same silly game every single year. Same script, same hopeful leaks, same Monday night anticlimax, and the audience, year after year, is told to act surprised. It's wild how fast the public mood has shifted on this one. The pattern is becoming the conversation, finally, and the cable hosts are running to catch up. One viewer put it cleaner than any commentator on cable. Their comment, sitting at over 560 likes under a major royal channel this week, said it in a single line. She has never been at the Met Gala, invited or not. So why is this year any different? That's the comment that broke the absence frame. One sentence, no analysis, just the question that should have been the lead paragraph in every cable segment and somehow wasn't. Another viewer, with over 400 likes on the same channel, was even sharper. She wasn't snubbed, she was never even considered. That single distinction collapses the entire premise of the absence headlines. You can only be snubbed at a place where you were on the list. An online discussion suggests the audience figured this out faster than the press did. When the comment section is more honest than the host, what does that tell us about who's actually doing the reporting now? The viewers spotted the pattern. The hosts kept selling the cycle. To be fair, the internet always has opinions. To be fair, comment sections aren't journalism. To be fair, fans of any high-profile figure tend to fixate on perceived slights. But when even longtime royal neutral viewers, the kind who don't post about the Sussex topic at all, are pulling up 6 years of receipts in real time and stacking them in public, that isn't a hate mob. That isn't a coordinated takedown. That's a public record finally getting read out loud in front of an audience large enough to make it stick. And the most telling part, the part that should be lit up in neon for anyone watching the dynamic shift this week, is what isn't happening anywhere. There's no hashtag campaign correcting the record, no coordinated defense from the usual fan accounts, no leaked counter-narrative quietly placed in the magazines that usually carry the friendly version. There's no pushback, there's no rebuttal, there's no quiet leak. There's just quiet. We're connecting public dots, not making accusations. The dots are public. The pattern is public. The conclusion is yours to draw, based entirely on what's been reported and what's a matter of public record. We're laying out what's verifiable. You decide what it means. But here's the part nobody's talking about, the part that matters most. Through all of this, every cycle, every year, every fresh wave of headlines, every anonymous source feeding the same magazines, the same hopeful storyline, there's been one consistent response from her camp. One single response that has held for 6 years straight, across every spring cycle, every theme, every co-chair lineup, every change of leadership at every major fashion publication. Silence. No statement, no clarification, no quiet leak from her side correcting the record. No background briefing to a friendly reporter pushing back on the framing. No carefully placed item in a sympathetic magazine. Nothing. And in a world where every outfit gets a press release, where every podcast guest gets a teaser drop the day before, where every chicken coop video gets a Vogue feature within 48 hours, where every charitable visit gets a coordinated photo package and a Sussex Squad amplification campaign, silence isn't an absence of strategy. It's an answer. According to reports stretching back across 6 years, the Sussex public relations machine responds to every minor slight in the press within hours. Every misquote, every unflattering photo angle, every passing comment from a former staffer. Piers Morgan has reportedly pointed this out repeatedly on his show. The machine that responds to everything didn't respond to this. Based on what's been observed across 6 years of identical Met Gala cycles, that silence is doing work. Because if the framing of Iced Out were inaccurate, if the entire premise of the headlines this week were unfair to her, the correction would have landed somewhere by now. In People, in Town and Country, in a quiet line dropped to a friendly reporter. Somewhere, anywhere, and it hasn't. The machine that corrects everything reportedly went quiet on this one. What does that silence tell you? So, let's lay it out. Just the facts as reported. Just the public record, in chronological order, with no commentary attached. 1. 2019. Sussex stock at its absolute peak. Met Gala happens in New York under the camp theme. The most photographed woman in the world that year isn't there. 2. 2021. The American lexicon theme, post-Oprah, the perfect homecoming setup. Reports say she's expected. She isn't there. 3. At 2023. Chloe Mall courting reports. Harper's Bazaar cover. New York appearances. She isn't there. 4. 2024. Sleeping Beauty's theme. Same anonymous sources. Same outcome on the first Monday in May. 5. 2025. Netflix promotional cycle. As ever launch week. Same outcome again. 6. 2026. Beyoncé and Venus Williams co-chairing. The strongest shot anyone reportedly thought she had in years. Same outcome a third time, fourth time, sixth time. 7. The silence. The machine that corrects everything reportedly didn't correct this. Is this just coincidence? Or is there a pattern here we've been told to ignore? 6 years. Same name absent, same machinery silent, same press cycle running on schedule. The math doesn't lie. The calendar doesn't lie. The public record doesn't lie. Only the spring headlines lie, and they lie on a schedule. If you've been watching this story unfold every single May since 2019, and your gut told you something was off about the way the headlines kept resurrecting the same hopeful narrative year after year, only to bury it the morning after the gala, your gut wasn't wrong. Your gut was reading the public record before the public record got read out loud. You saw the pattern before the cable host did. You were the audience the magazines were selling the cycle to, and you noticed the cycle wasn't matching the outcome. It was never an absence. It was never a snub of one specific year. It was the system telling you something for 6 years running, in the quietest possible language. Not on a press release. Not in a leaked statement. In a guest list. 6 identical guest lists. 6 identical exclusions. According to Tom Bauer, and according to the public record, this isn't a fall from grace at all. This is a 6-year record of never having been in the room to begin with. The relevance Meghan Markle needed for actual Met Gala access was reportedly never there, even at peak Sussex stock, even at the height of the global wedding moment, even with 2 billion people watching her say, "I do." If reports are accurate, the door was closed in 2019 and has stayed closed ever since. And if she was never in the room at peak, what room is she in now? Because the answer to that question is the answer to a lot of other questions. About Archewell, about Netflix, about As Ever, about every soft power play her team has reportedly attempted in the last 2 years. That's the real story. Now, before we wrap, I want to hear from you on this one directly. When did you first notice the pattern? Was it back in 2019, when she was the most photographed woman in the world and somehow not at fashion's biggest night? Was it 2023, with the Chloe Mall reports filling every spring magazine? Was it 2024, when the cycle started feeling automatic? Or did it click this week, with Beyoncé and Venus running the gala and her still on the outside looking in? Drop it below. Be specific about the year. Be specific about the moment it stopped feeling like coincidence to you. Because the comment section under videos like this one is honestly more insightful than half the experts on cable television. The viewers spotted this pattern years before the hosts did. And the receipts in the comments under these videos are doing more reporting work than the spring magazines have done in 6 years combined. If this breakdown gave you something to think about, hit the like button. It tells the algorithm to push this video to people who've been asking the same questions every single May for 6 years and getting fed the same recycled headlines. The algorithm rewards engagement, and engagement is how the audience finally gets a story that isn't just the spring cycle on repeat. Hit subscribe if you want to stay on top of this story as it keeps unfolding. And it will keep unfolding, because the next piece of this puzzle might be the biggest one yet. We're looking at what really happened with the Archewell Foundation numbers. The part where the public filings from 2024 quietly told a story nobody at her PR firm wanted out. The numbers that didn't match the press releases, the donations that didn't show up. The quiet financial picture under all the public branding. The video is on your screen right now. Don't miss it. It connects directly to everything you just heard, and it makes the Met Gala pattern look like a warm-up act. Until next time, keep watching, keep noticing, and trust your gut, because so far, it's been right every single time. The pattern is the story, always was.